Hello, my name is Mirko Dautovic, and I'm an adjunct professor here in Tashkent in international relations. I studied in my native city, Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. It's a country in southeastern Europe. And there I studied archaeology and anthropology. My master's degree was in international relations from the University of Cambridge in Great Britain. Right now, I'm doing a PhD in political anthropology at the University of Belgrade once again. So my work experience involves diplomacy and academia. Back in Belgrade, I worked as a media cultural attaché in the German embassy in Belgrade. So something like a local working for the German diplomacy, explaining them the intricacies of the Balkan history, culture, but also media landscape. Then I worked for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in a pretty similar position, where I would be following the media developments as well as political developments in Serbia and the wider Balkan region. At the same time, I have quite a career of performances in the media. So as a pundit, as someone appearing on TV and explaining the intricacies of international affairs. Normally I focus on the Middle East, but since 2022, one had to expand field of expertise to Ukraine somewhat, and this space as well. When it comes to academia, I've been giving lectures at the University of Belgrade in Islam in the Balkans and Middle Eastern history as well. I started teaching here at Webster in January 2023, and so far I've been teaching the history of Europe, Encounter with History, where we analyze diplomatic diaries and travelogues from the past. And this semester I've also been teaching the international organizations with a focus of how the United Nations is functioning. And my teaching style tends to be focused on the analysis of the historical sources. That means that, for instance, in the United Nations course, I give my students plenty of the UN resolutions to read, UN reports, presidential statements of the Security Council. And we read them and we discover how is the United Nations working through reading the documents that the diplomats are producing. So you see, my idea is not to teach you theory, it's more to teach you through the practice, through the remains of the practice, through the texts, and you will understand how are the United Nations working when reading these texts with our interpretation. And we'll be doing it together in this course. In my other course, the History of Europe, we involve a lot of visual recognition. That means you would have paintings or photographies directly related to some of the great historical events that shaped the European history and are still shaping it today. So you see, I do more of a mixture, more of a practical approach to the studies of international relations, primarily because I think that, students these days, they need skills, transferable skills in jobs that they want to do. And while theory is useful in academia, well, it's essential, I think that practice pays off more in the long run for most students. So if you want to study international relations, I suppose you want to go into diplomacy or international organizations, or maybe you want to get a job at a local embassy, like such as American or a German or French or USAID. And from my experience, because I also worked for these organizations back home, they need interpreters. Not interpreters where you say, this was said in Uzbek and then you just translate it. You need to explain the context to these people. You need to provide them with reports. You need to provide them with analysis. In my classes, this is exactly what I'm insisting on. Producing analysis, producing summaries of maybe boring diplomatic speeches, but still identifying key points in, let's say, President Joe Biden's address at the UN General Assembly. What is the hot point? What are the hot points in his talk? What does the United States care about now? You will find this in his speech. If you want to analyze why is some great power putting a veto in Security Council, How is Uzbekistan behaving in the United Nations? Other Central Asian republics. You need to produce analysis which is succinct. That means it's short and full of useful information, not necessarily opinions, information. And you there to serve as interpreters, someone who serves as an interpreter between two worlds, Uzbekistan and whoever the partner is from the international arena. So my skills are this, that I'm transferring to you: analytical skills and language skills, producing good reports, producing them and forcing them to be succinct. So, judging from the higher education landscape in Tashkent, what I've seen so far, I think that Webster will offer you a degree of alternative, because here you will meet professors from Europe, from North America, from South America, from India, from China, from Japan, and we all bring a little bit of our quite different cultures. So I would encourage you to come here and challenge yourself.